So today we have another VIESSA build, and I took note of a lot of your comments in my last video. You guys said, yo, Skillz, you got to make those skills hit a little bit harder and drop some of that defense. So I did just that. I did drop my defense a little bit, but we still have some survivability on this build. And I do that because I feel like having some survivability in group play makes a huge difference, because of course you can solo these bosses as I'm soloing them here, but if I lose too much defense when I'm in group play, it really affects my gameplay, and you guys might even notice when you guys are playing when you don't have enough defense or HP to have that survivability. Now what's great about this build is you can use this to solo bosses, use it in group play, or you can even use it to farm the open world, and I'll be breaking down every aspect of this build and how you guys should be using it to take full advantage of the setup I currently have. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. This is the solo devourer, and you can see we're just like shredding, and I was able to be executioner, I was able to be pyro, all of them with this build. And that's what I wanted to make sure, that this build was still on par with my last build that was a little bit more tanky and had more survivability. Now this one, again, we don't have the survivability, but we're still able to put out insane amount of damage. So what we'll be doing here, guys, is we are going to be showcasing VIESSA today. And remember, if you guys do not have the ultimate VIESSA, don't worry, because you do not need her. You can still pull off what I'm doing right here, because the mods that I'm using fit on regular VIESSA or on the ultimate VIESSA. I am currently on the hunt for the ultimate VIESSA Transcendent module, but I have not got it. But when we do, I think I want to make a Frostbite build, but we just aren't there yet. So this is my most up-to-date VIESSA build, and I was surprised that I'm really enjoying her with a little bit less defense and a little bit more power to those skills. So it is time. Let's get into the build. We're gonna finish off Devour right here. Just a few more shots, and boom, solo Devour. So let's get into the build, guys. So I read the comments in the last video, and I'll tell you, if you guys really enjoy a tanky VIESSA, that other build is for you. Also allows you to solo bosses and do group play. Very easy being able to stay alive because of the amount of defense and survivability that build has, and still puts out damage. But if you want something more on the mage side where you can put a little bit more damage with your skills, well, let's get into that right now. Now, let's get into the Thunder Cage. We did do a little upgrade since our last video. We finally have better concentration fully maxed out. We're getting firearm critical hit damage 74%. Remember, that's applied value. We have rifling reinforcement, that's firearm attack 32%. We have action and reaction for 61% firearm attack, and then recoil plus 20%. We have fire rate up for that fire rate of 25%. We have concentration support, so the rounds per magazine is 25%. Firearm critical hit damage is plus 6.5%. Better insight for firearm critical hit rate of 39%. Then weak point damage, definitely recommended, especially if you're playing any type of colossal bosses. Weak points are all over them, 35%. We have concentration priority for firearm critical damage, 104%. Reload time modifier, negative 26%. And then we have chill enhancement, which adds chill attack equal to 13.4% of firearm attack. This one you would change for whatever enemy you're fighting. So if he's weak to toxins, you put toxins on, toxic enhancement, fire enhancement. You guys decide there. Now you guys can see the applied values over here and see where they're at. Now one thing you need to make sure is when you look at the crit rate here, right? You need to actually head back here and go to where it says go to info, and you can see my critical hit rate on my Thunder Cage is actually 30%, and then the firearm critical hit rate multiplier is 6.43. And then what else do we have? Reload 1.4 seconds, and then weak point damage multiplier is 1.62. So that's just the increased modifier on hitting weak points, right? So that's something for you guys to really take into account. You really need to look at here. So 30% isn't too bad. Wish it was a little bit higher, but when you look at the weapon here, it shows this is you'll see my critical hit rate says 39%, but it's 30%, right? And then obviously my critical hit damage says 185% here, and then it shows the multiplier over there. So just something for you to keep in mind. Overall, it says my DPS is around 449,000. I can definitely make this a lot stronger. What I could do is I could use I could assign a module socket type, cut this fire rate in half, and then add more here. A lot of different things you can do here, but right now I feel like this thing is doing what it needs to do, and it's performing well. So let's get into the build, because I know a lot of you guys had a lot of input on my last one, and obviously I love that one for tanking and being able to have survivability. But if you want something that can hit a little bit harder with your skills, this is probably going to be the way. Now, I don't have all the Transcendent modules, but Cold Bloodiness is actually really good on this build. When using the skill, increases skill power and decreases skill cost and skill cooldown. Frost roads are not created when moving, so you don't have frost roads with this one, but this is actually really good if you're trying to put out a lot of damage with your skills. Now, I am looking for hypothermia. I have not had a chance of getting that to drop. When it does drop, I'll probably run something similar, but I'll put an updated build once that does come out, and then that's what you guys can see. Obviously, Ultimate VIESSA or VIESSA is my main, so yeah, you could run this on either one though. This isn't an Ultimate exclusive. Now, we do have increased defense. Again, I told you I do want to have some survivability. Some people who run their VIESSA builds run no kind of defense at all. And for me, I just feel like I need that survivability, especially with my playstyle. We have increased HP. Everybody runs this, especially whether you're running this build or not. Skill expansion, that skill effective range, definitely love this, 92% right here. We have time distribution, so the skill cooldown is -14%, and then max HP is 52%. So again, this actually helps out with my HP. I really like this. We have emergency measures. Skill critical hit rate goes up to 64%. Skill critical hit damage, 27%. And remember, these are applied values, so I'll actually show you my exact crit rate on this build, which should be around 50%. We have skill concentration, which is going to give us skill critical hit damage, 115%. We have chill master, skill power, 44%. Chill skill power, 19%. Now, this is the one that's going to have most of you guys saying, hey, you can swap this out and get more damage. I played with this multiple times, and I tried putting on chill specialist, which gives you 81% just pure skill power, well, chill skill power, and the chill master was outperforming it. And I did the same thing with focus on chill. I put this here, and still the same thing. It just wasn't here. You do get the skill cooldown, so your skills you'll gain some skill cooldown, but the overall power, Chill Master was hitting harder, so that's why I decided to stick with this one. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, why you think either Focus on Chill or Chill Specialist would be a better in slot here. I tested it in the range, and this was just outperforming it. We have front lines here for that skill critical hit damage and skill critical hit rate. We have skill insight for skill critical hit rate, 115%. And then I had one extra slot right here. I put Spear and Shield because it does give me that 8% skill power, defense 22%. Now, if I want to get my cooldown better, what I could do is I could use a module socket on here, and then I could just put something that creates cooldown. So we could go with Nimble Fingers, right? We could probably just put Nimble Fingers in here, and we could do that, right? So that could definitely be something that we do here. But to do that, to fit another something like Nimble Fingers fully maxed out, I would need to put a module socket here. So I would have to prestige her again, and then I could put Nimble Fingers, and then I could drop my skill cooldown by 25%. So this is kind of the setup we have here. You can see the applied values of critical hit damage, 207%, skill cooldown, -14%, defense, 182%, max HP, 270%, skill power 52, and the skill effective range. But then if you go over here, skill critical hit rate, it's 50%, which is actually pretty good. And what I noticed is once I got in that 50% crit hit chance range, my crits were more consistent. So I was seeing those crits hit more consistently in my gameplay. And of course, make sure you guys are always proccing Cold Bloodiness. In a lot of this gameplay, I wasn't. So that's going to give you that skill power boost and then the skill cooldown. So if you look at our skills, you'll see Frost Shards is hitting about 700,000 with a 6-second cooldown. And this is with proccing Cold Bloodiness. Now, the same thing goes with the Cold Snap. The cooldown is around 17 seconds and it hits for around 1 million with Cold Bloodiness active. Now, we're going to check out our Blizzard. This one, the cooldown kind of sucks. It's around 51 seconds. Duration's only 6 seconds or a little bit more. That's where if you got rid of Spear and Shield and you put Nimble Fingers, it would help. So what I want to do is show you without Cold Bloodiness on, show you what it hits for. So we go right here, right? And you can see 696,000. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Cold Snap 2 just so you can see 996,000. Now, if I were to use Cold Bloodiness, and it's just what Frost Roads used to be, so we're gonna hit it. And now watch. 718,000, you can already see it go up. And then let's use Cold Snap, 1 million, right? So it's pretty crazy. So that's why when you use your skills with this, when you're using Cold Blades, you wanna make sure you proc your Frost Roads, then you use your skills, because that's where it's going to get a lot stronger. And one thing I did notice is sometimes I'll see this hit up to 2.2 million on crits on some enemies, and obviously it just depends on what their weaknesses are and what their weaknesses aren't. So definitely keep that in mind when you're in the open world and you see some crazy high numbers. And let's talk about the reactors, because reactors make a big difference on this build. I was farming for a while trying to get this piece right here, the frozen mixture reactor, and I tell you, this is actually a game changer for this build. Now, this has Thunder Cage mounting, which is my primary weapon. It has chill skill power and fusion skill power boost ratio. Now, I would like to get something that has tech skill power boost ratio, but I definitely like the fusion skill power boost ratio, and I'll tell you why. Because it helps out with my first and third skill, which I can spam a little bit more than my Blizzard, and that's actually a pretty nice chunk of damage, especially if I need to clear any ads. Now, this also has skill critical hit rate on there, 31%, and then additional skill attack when attacking colossals. So this was something perfect for, especially if you want to fight bosses. Now, if I'm just doing the open world, I have another one that has skill critical hit rate and skill effective range. So I can swap between the two. I did boost this one twice though, so I did enhance this reactor. So it is getting a little bit more skill power than this one right here. But this was what the default skill power was, and then I enhanced it twice, so it's a little bit stronger. But this is my colossal boss one, and then this one is going to be the one that I use in the open world. So for the external components, I decided to go with a 2-piece polar and a 2-piece annihilation. The reason why is the 2-piece polar is going to give me chill skill power, and then the annihilation is going to give me skill duration. Now there is a set called Slayer Sensor that gives you 2 set gives you general rounds capacity, and the 4 set gives you skill cost plus 15%, but it does give you skill power of 26%. Now, could you run this? Yes, but the problem with a lot of these sets, they have fixed values for, like, you can only get max shield, and I tried to, or maybe I just have bad RNG. I could not get anything that had defense or HP, and ideally that's kind of what I want with my build. So for the auxiliary power, I went with max HP for 484. Then we have fire resistance 2,900. We do have the sensor with defense 4,600. Plus we have chill resistance on there and max MP. Then we have max HP on the memory with electric resistance. And then for the final piece, we have max HP and then max shield. So I found this was a great combination to have some type of survivability at 18,000, almost 19,000 defense and 10,000 health. You can definitely find some better pieces as you guys go along, but I felt around this way, this really worked well with this build and allowed me to really solo those bosses. So hopefully this video gives you options. Now you can decide if you want to go the more tanky route like my last video, or if you guys want to go the more skill damage route like this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Nothing but skills out.